Thank you for joining us today in this video about purpose of life and exit points. As we could have seen, it's a very, very interesting subject, and there were many reactions and comments on our Facebook group, and I'm sure we will have more questions coming after the video when everybody watches this. So my name is Sanela. I'm Director of Strategy at Michael Newton Institute. And today with me, we have Diana Baek, who is the Executive Director of Michael Newton Institute, Rita Borenstein, who is our Membership Director, and Riva Hodgson, who is our Precious Facilitator in Canada, and Russian origin. So thank you for coming here today, joining me in my talk about purpose of life and exit points. I could tell you many things about purpose of life. All the ancient traditions are talking about meaning of life, purpose of life. There are so many subjects on this. What is it? Why are we here? But I will talk through the lens of Life Between Lives session. Once we come to a session and we talk about what we want to achieve, usually one of the questions is, why am I here? Why did I come here? Why did I choose this body, this life, this family, this country? Why? So many questions. Tried to answer it throughout the whole life, and it wasn't possible because just cannot get to the bottom of it. I like to do this, I like to do that, I'm good at this, but why am I really here? I have a feeling I'm here to do something greater. But what is it? Well, the first stop where we can ask this question and get into connection with this is the womb. The womb is such a great place to stop, to explore. As a soul that just incarnated, what do you think? Why are you here? Well, what are you here to do? Well, I'm here to learn compassion, or I'm here to help my family. It's easy and simple. We think that we have to do so many big things. What if it is only one small thing we need to do? Just compassion or love. Just that. And help other people. Love, spread love. And exit points. Well, that's something else. Before coming, we plan. We plan our lives. And we plan our lives according to what we need to achieve as a soul, what we need to learn or to help or to grow. And then if life is especially hard, we set a few exit points just in case. But what if we overcome those situations? We don't need them anymore. So they will be there, but somehow we will avoid them because we have overcome those situations. Many people have a lot of questions about exit points. Why did my loved one have to leave so early? Or what would happen if the life stops and like at a certain point and nothing is still resolved? Well, there's a lot to say about this. And the spirit world has different answers. I would like to ask my dear colleagues here if they would like to share anything from their own experience about the purpose of life and how, and maybe exit points if it's the case, when clients come into connection with their soul self in the womb, the first stop with the soul. How is it? How is the experience? What do they say? What do they feel? Rita, maybe you can share something.
Okay, thank you for sharing. this possibility to say some things. In my experience, people say different things in the in this phase, but really a lot of clients have told me that they come to help their mom, quite often that they came to help their mom, and they felt the whole life maybe that they was kind of the mother for their mom, or it could be a son or a boy too, but quite often, I don't know if I attract this kind of people or not, but it's such a love then radiating between the client and the mother, because they might have felt quite burdened or something like that, and then that thing is kind of resolved as I ask them questions about it. So as you said, this purpose then to come and help the mother can also be then that the mission is done, so to speak, and when they come to me, they might realize that now I can move on, and my mom is okay. So this is an example only that I've met a lot. Yes,
Thank
I
you.
leave it to my colleagues now.
Thank you.
To share, yes.
So
Diana.
sometimes I find that the clients don't necessarily recognize their purpose. You know, that they're not identifying with a singular purpose, but they're looking more at lessons. So you may ask them the question about a purpose, and they may say, I don't know, that in the womb. And then I will shift into, well, what lessons are you aware of that you're coming in to learn? Because sometimes that's a smaller thing to deal with than purpose, so they can get at it in a different way. And they may have a sense of the lessons, or they may have a sense of some of the dynamics about what they're here for. I'm here to be in a woman's body because I haven't experienced that. I'm here to work on these lessons about patience, or about sexuality, or about connection or relationship. So they may not have an overall purpose statement, but they have pieces of it. And if they can't see the big thing, then I go to the smaller things, the pieces. And almost everybody has at least one piece that they come in with. They may not have the whole thing, but they have little bits of it.
It's wonderful. That's definitely true. And Rifa, how about your experience?
If we're talking about the time in a womb where the first layer of the upcoming life coming, very often people know why they come for, to help the mother, to be the mediator in a family. There was a client who was looking for the body with particular arrangement in the brain that will be a future addiction. And his task was to deal with addiction. And that particular abnormality, small abnormality in the brain would lead to the addiction. So that was very interesting to notice and nice to know.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Thank you, Rifa. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. So I'll start with our questions from Facebook. I know we don't have much time and we had many questions. So the first one is, after closing or finishing the incarnation process, is there a further possibility to develop oneself? It's a very interesting question. Thank you for asking this. I will start by saying that we leave a certain percentage of our soul energy in the spirit realm and incarnate with the rest of the soul energy. Every soul decides how much of the soul energy to take into the next incarnation. And it is different for every soul. It depends on what they come here to do and how much energy will they need while incarnated. Having said that, our soul energy part that stays in the spirit realm continues developing. This development occurs simultaneously in incarnation and in the spirit realm. Once our physical life is over, we reconnect with our soul self, the part that stayed in the spirit. Depending on the life we have lived, we will review that life with our guides, council of elders, or other wise beings which belong to our soul development. So yes, we do, and at the same time on two fronts. But would anyone like to add something or say something about this question?
Well, I think the challenge for us as humans is to look at ourselves from the soul perspective as opposed to an individual lifetime. This question is really asked from the perspective of what happens if I don't complete it in this lifetime. You keep going. I mean, the soul continues to learn, whether it is incarnated into a body or whether it is in the soul realm, because it's always in the soul realm. I think that's what you're saying, is the soul is always in this place of connection and learning and perfecting. And that if you, one of the biggest challenges when I'm working with clients is to remind them that not every lesson is completed in a lifetime. There are lessons that are never completed in a single lifetime, like patience. Patience is one of those that's never completed in a single lifetime. Or relationships or self-love. These are ones that may go on for millennia and that we learn different aspects of. And so there's always this larger learning. Some, as you mentioned, maybe I have to learn about self-love in a female body. And so I came in and there's a lesson in this lifetime that I do complete. But usually my sense is with my clients that there are many lessons that we work on over many lifetimes and learn different aspects in each lifetime.
Thank you, Diana. Rifa, you wanted to add something?
Yes, about soul energy. So every task requires certain soul energy. Sometimes it's calculated very precisely from the soul planning. Sometimes it's a mistake in judging, and we bring here too much soul energy that it will create a person who is pushy, who is driven, who is making too much of anything, and lack of energy that you would love to participate, but you don't have an energy, or you don't have an interest, or you don't have the physical strength to do it. Sometimes it's just a lack of energy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Because energy is permeating our life on everyday basis. It's not that we deal with this only in extra circumstances. It's everyday basis.
Exactly. That's so true.
Yes, and I'd just like to add shortly here, sorry to jump in myself here, that that these days when it's so common to talk about burnout and tiredness and I think it's of course many reasons that we cannot go into now, but it's to manage one's energy. We've been talking about the soul energy, and to manage and not to leak energy. I have an experience that a lot of people, including myself, leak energy quite often and do too much and less just to be and have this meditative feeling. And that I think is one of the benefits with an LBL, that we learn also to contemplate on this soul energy and to learn how to take care of ourselves, one could say. Yes,
it's very important, especially if we feel tired sometimes and there's no reason for it. Okay, so I'll just jump to another question. I just want to know more about spirit guides, the ways we as individuals can contact them and maybe talk with them, And what other signs or incidents you would like to share from your personal work experience regarding spirit guides? So would anyone like to answer this?
I would like to.
Please. Thank
Spirit
you.
guide could come in different form and shape according to what the client need. And the funniest, most unusual, I had James Bond driving the car. That was for the person who loved his movies. So the guide came driving that special car, dressed up how it's supposed to be. And it was a delight to see her recognition and appreciating that it's just for her. So it could be different.
I've had a couple of clients recently who've been surprised because their guide shows up in a different form than they usually do. That I have one client whose guide usually shows up as like an apostle, you know, guy with a long beard. And this last time the guide showed up like a firefly and was this little light flitting around, and was quite surprised by the shift in the energy. And it was lively and fun and feminine, as opposed to this solid apostle male. And she was quite surprised by the difference. And yet the guide was trying to lighten her energy and move her out of this really heavy investigative kind of energy that she was coming in with. It's like, just lighten up, enjoy being here. You know, and our humanness tends to get stuck and see things that it should be the same way. And yet, so our guides will mix it up just to get us to pay attention. So we're paying attention. We tend not to observe things. And sometimes they're doing it, shifting just so that we observe it. It's like our Council of Wise Ones. They can appear as people, or they can appear as energies, depending on what we need. You know, Michael talks about the guides appearing in clothing. And if they're appearing in clothing with medallions and things, it's because we need it. It's for us. So what does that mean to us? Their energy, you know, they don't need to do that for them. It's simply for you. And so our guides are coming to us in a way that we're open to, and to cause us to observe and to really be present with them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And well, I can add only that we can contact them in meditation. We can set an intention and just listen. Sometimes they will have a thought, sudden thought, like, don't go that way, it's not safe. So just decide to listen or not, and then we will find out. Or through LBL, Life Between Lives. It's a beautiful way to connect with your guide, to get to know them, to remember who they are and how they are, and remember the energy. So next time you meditate or you feel the presence, you know it's your guide. Oh, there's a lot to be said, but we need to move on to the next question. I would like to know if suicide is ever planned as an exit point, as an exit event. Well, this was a Facebook question. Alison answered this question beautifully, saying that if you looked at the setup around certain suicides, you might say it was a planned exit event to help the other souls who experience their loss to grow and work on things that are part of their learning or development in this lifetime. And she would believe that some suicides were not actually planned as exit points, or not even exit points, but offered reactions or responses. I would say it can be. It depends. It could be planned for our loved ones to learn unconditional love, compassion, forgiveness, or it can be done by free will. It can also be the case where our soul energy is damaged, depleted, that living is very, very hard. After such end, the soul receives deep and prolonged healing in the spirit realm. I had a client that stayed in a healing hub for a very long time before they could even meet a guide. Once the healing was complete, the guide came. So there is a beautiful case study in The Destiny of Souls on the page number 156. And I would like to invite my colleagues if somebody wants to share something or add something to this.
I think you said it really well, Sanela. I don't want to add anything really.
Thank you.
Mm.
Okay, so we have another question. Can we have a simple purpose, like being creative, happy, kind? Part of me feels I must have a bigger purpose and should be saving all the women and children on the planet. Definitely we can. Sometimes by doing only one small thing for others means we have fulfilled our purpose. As humans, we usually have this feeling that we need to do something big, achieve greatness, save many people. But what if just by being you, a beautiful, loving, caring you already achieve greatness? By helping so many people only by being the way you are. Imagine those circles that are created on the surface of the lake when it starts raining. One drop, only one drop, was necessary to spread that circle across the whole surface. One word, one smile, one kind look is enough to touch much more people we are not even aware of. So I would say definitely yes.
Yes.
Beautifully
Yes.
said, Sanela. Beautifully
Thank you.
said.
It was beautiful. Yes, surely. And I can agree shortly that it seems that the life purpose to me is that what we love, I mean, and we give out something and we get something also back. The love that we give out, we get back, and vice versa. So as you said, it's not always the big missions, so to speak, but to live one in the hosting present body to the fullest, with you, Sanela, the fullest, and with us all, the fullest.
Yeah.
I've recently had clients who are looking for that big purpose, and they get the answer back, well, what's wrong with simply enjoying life in a body and experiencing happiness and joy? And they tend to look for these serious purposes as opposed to experiencing the joy in its fullness, because when the soul is home, it's joyful. And in the human body, it's easier to be in the darkness than it is to be in the light. And that is sometimes a very big lesson, to experience joy and believe you can have joy and happiness in a lifetime. And so that in itself can be a lesson.
Beautifully put.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, and sometimes clients put as a question, what is my purpose for the consult? And they said, but you're doing it. You're already in. You're doing what you're doing and continue to do it. And what I'm doing. Oh, a client is a hairdresser. And 8 hours a day, she is talking, listening, the word here, the smile here, the approval, the little joke. This is what she's doing. She is giving people who come to her exactly what they need.
Mm-hmm.
And this is her purpose. It don't have to be grand.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be in our human measurement. It may be tiny, tiny little things. We never know how it will be received and what happened from your little remark.
Yes.
Exactly.
So this is how it is.
Mm.
Definitely is. I mean, just small steps, and you help make someone's day better? Just one word, one kind word, or a smile. Thank you. Here's another next question. I learned in my LBL that I'm supposed to be learning how to control my emotions and how to stick up for myself. The lessons just keep coming to the point where I have wished I would have just taken one of my exit points. Is there any knowledge you can share with us on how to speed up the process so we don't get left feeling so frustrated? Well, I have a feeling we set up many learning points in our incarnation, not to miss an opportunity to learn what we came to learn or do. There is a possibility that the lessons just keep appearing even if we have mastered it previously. It might be the case, and what might be helpful in these situations is to look at our lives as observers. Look for clues, connections, learnings. Sometimes we are so involved in the action itself that we lose to see the bigger picture. Maybe those lessons are not for you anymore, but for someone else in your surroundings. Try to look at the bigger picture, and I'm sure you will find the answer. So, is there anyone else that would like to add to this question?
I think probably the key to this is balance. We tend to get out of balance. And when I'm talking to clients about these things, I'm saying, how are you in balance or not in balance? Because we tend to be out of balance. So that the way the question is asked is about controlling my emotions. It's really about balancing with your emotions as opposed to controlling them. So how do we come into balance so that we're comfortable and move ourselves into soul space instead of into the human dynamic where we're trying to control and we feel things are chaotic? So how do we raise ourselves to a place of balance? And I think that's an important question that we should ask ourselves. When I'm in a place of chaos, I'm not in balance. My emotions are not in balance. I can be happy, or I can be sad, or I can be upset. I'm not in balance. And when I become quiet and move into a place where I'm connecting with my soul energy, I come into balance, and then everything kind of calms down. And I think that's the exercise. Part of what we do with LBL and this work on this plane is to support people in feeling what balance feels like. And it's hard for people to come into balance if they don't know what it feels like. So the work that we do supports them in achieving comfort with being in balance, as opposed to trying to control or feeling out of control.
Wonderful, Dan.
Yeah,
Totally
that was
agree.
nice. Nicely said, yes.
There is another different aspect. Why the lessons keep coming? Why the lessons keep coming, the same lessons? Because until we learn all the aspects of that lesson, they won't stop. And there is a lot of them. Different, the same lesson, but different aspects of the same lesson. And we tend to feel that it's all about us. And sometimes it's not. We're just there to experience these lessons as observer, or experience how does it feel not to be directly involved, but kind of being very close. So there is a different ways to learn. And when the lesson learned, it's not existing anymore. That's it. It's gone.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I feel really when I hear you talk that how amazing this LBL experiencing is, because based on Michael Newton mythology, we go as a deepener to childhood happy memories, which is such a wonderful way to although some people have a terrible childhood maybe as they feel, but there are some moments that, for example, playing with a toy or something like that. I had one client even who had such a terrible childhood, but he remembered the warmth coming from the ground when he was a child, from his feet. So he was moved by feeling that there is warmth coming from Mother Earth, or he called it something else. But then to go to the time in the womb, and then to a past life, and all the time, let the soul remind us of who we are, and that's an amazing healing experience for the balance, as you said, Diana, that to have the balance, that and to remember also that these moments when we are protected, and although life might have been very hard, there's always this moment that come forth then that make us relax, and then go deeper into this kind of deep hypnosis that we actually experience together with our clients. So all in all, it's for the balance, it's amazing thing to watch clients really catch up with their soul, or the soul catch up with the hosting body. I don't know which way around, but we catch up with each other, so to speak, in the existing body and the soul, and that brings a lot of healing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And definitely the key is in the balance. Mm-hmm. Everything in life should be in balance. Otherwise, it's too difficult, or too hectic, or too emotional in a negative way. So it brings us to another question we have. I wonder if, although the exit points were planned before reincarnation, there are earthly circumstances that might change them, as the impact or suffering that those exit points will affect the loved ones in the current life. It might be a net of purposes, so the suffering caused by the exit point of a loved one was somehow also established in advance for each one. It's possible that we can plan these things together, as both souls learn from this experience. What do you say, Diana, or Rifa, or Rita? What are your thoughts?
I had a client yesterday who did an LBL, and her mother had postpartum depression, and committed suicide by jumping in front of a subway train when my client was 10 months old. And as she was investigating this, she was asking her guides about this, and learned that this was all planned in advance, so that she would develop as she developed, and that the lessons in this lifetime would develop. And it wasn't that her mother didn't love her, it was her mother had disease. Her mother had a lot of problems after giving birth. And so that it was, in her life and my client's life, it was a planned experience. What it was in the mother's life, I don't know, but it wasn't something that she had to figure out. And that's what her guides were saying. In your life, look at it from what is the learning for you and how it established you. I've had several clients recently who've had children who have died. And what was that about? Why did I have to experience that? What was that in their lives? And one found that her son, who was 18, overdosed, and that he had planned that as an exit point, and that he had done the work he had meant to do, and that he had set up everything, and that was the exit point that he had planned. But it can be a number of different things, depending on the perspective you're looking at it from, whether it's your experience or the experience of a loved one.
Yeah, well, I can add from my own experience. I usually don't share this. When I was 15, war broke out in my home country. And suddenly, there were explosions, bombings, but there was also like a period of truce when I would go out with a friend just to walk around. And one day we were supposed to go towards the river one way, a familiar, normal way. And suddenly something told me, no, go in another direction. We went in another direction, and the bomb just fell where we were supposed to go. And that was, I can see, might be my exit point or her exit point. I'm not sure. It's just that I'm happy we didn't take that way. There have been more situations in my life where I could have exited, but luckily, I guess my higher self said, "Not your time. You have to do more things. You have it. You can do it." Like a stupid car accident where you accidentally just fall asleep, you know, and then you wake up and, well, something like this. But yeah, it's possible, of course. We never know for sure until we are in the session, and we can really review these situations, these moments. And it's all individual. It's so individual that we cannot really offer a general answer about what really happens. I mean, it's so on a personal level. So yeah, thank you for asking this question.
Can I just add shortly here that about the near-death experience, that we often hear that they meet someone there who says your time is not up. I had a few clients who had surgeries and they had past life, not past life, but near-death experience, and they all report the same thing, that it seems, you know, the spirit word comes to say, or who says it, I don't know, but it's quite common that they report things like this. They go through the tunnel, but then they go back.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I want to add too. I just remember I had a client at the last point of his life. So he was exiting, and something like this, he said, the door opened and there was an old woman who extended the hand to me. And then it was quiet moment. I said, so continue. I don't want to go. I said, what happened with the woman? The door closed, the woman disappeared. So it's final decision, it's ours.
Yes.
So this is on some level, we are saying, yes, I'm going, I'm finishing, or no, I'm staying. Sometimes the spirit world decide to use the body again. So the lesson is over, the lesson is finished. It could be exit at any moment. And sometimes exits are provided. But then the body is still young, the body is functional, and they offer another lesson. And if the person, the body, accept it, so the life continue, and we see the people, the person change. There is a different ball game. So there is a different lesson. So it's very interesting.
Yes, that's interesting, Riff.
It is.
Yes.
Wonderful. Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so we have one more question. What's the purpose of an actor when she or he plays a part or role in production? Is it not to create an experience other than that which is already known? It's possible that this is all we are doing here. Well, Shakespeare wrote in As You Like It, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. We all are the creators of our lives. We plan, we play, and live according to our already set plans. You might see it that way, and the purpose might be to create experience for the other soul or for themselves, or experience through the eyes of the third person, the one they are playing. What do you say? What's your opinion?
Well, I had a client who was a minister who had many relationships, and he felt the relationships were finished. And his guides told him, they are finished for you. They're just not finished for the other people. And we tend not to look at things from the perspective of the other person. We tend to internalize it's all about us. And humans are very good at it's all about me. And so that's one of the I don't want to call it deficiencies, but one of the constraints of being human is we tend to look at things through this human form as it's about me, and it's not always about me. I think that's an interesting thing that we come across, is that I'm here for a reason for somebody else. And one of the things that we learn, I was working with somebody yesterday, is what is our service? We are in service in some way. And even on the soul realm, people are of service. And what is your service? I've been working with a woman for probably 2 years who first came to me because she didn't connect with her body and didn't feel comfortable. And what she's learned is she's in training to be a guide of young souls. And because she's going to be a guide of young souls, there are people in her life that she doesn't relate to. And she's learning that her role is not to fix and not to direct, but simply to guide, and to guide in a loving way, which is very hard in a human form. And so we sometimes have to shift our perspective in order to see questions and answers. And doing this work puts you in a position to be able to look at something from a different direction or from a different perspective. So when we look at a life from a soul perspective, it seems very different than from a single incarnation perspective.
Wonderful. Wow. So much wisdom here. Thank you.
Yes, I agree.
And we have one more question. If someone's soul is in front of the situation that might look like a planned exit point, could it choose to stay if we send them loving and positive energy? The answer could be both yes and no, and the soul of the person in question would know the answer. We can support people we care about in many ways, being their shoulder to cry on, by holding the space while they heal and grow, or by doing something for them. Whatever feels the right thing to do for you, and deep in your heart might be the answer you're looking for. Just remember that we all planned this, and the good and the bad, and holding the loving space for someone who needs it is a beautiful way to help. So would anyone want to add here something?
Yes, I can give an example, because I had a client for LBL who is she's a surgeon, a female surgeon, and quite overworked, and because of the COVID she had worked night and day really, and she didn't want to live anymore. She not in when she came to me, but earlier, but she told me that she had already taken some pills and to go to sleep, and the phone rang in another room, and she was thinking for a second. She told me that either I take the call or I will not live, but she decided to take the call, and it was her meditation teacher who had felt her in that moment. And then, you know, she told me with tears, and I was crying of course too, that someone was thinking of me made all the difference in that second. So it's telepathy or whatever, but then she is continued to work, and she also, it's about the balance again. She realized that she was totally burned out, and like a human condition, you know, you cannot just work day and night. And so that was one example of saving a life, really in a in a second. So that's one example only, but I think we can help each other in the small and large ways. We don't know it will change the destiny, but it could. I think it could. Yes.
I recently had a client who was very angry because her husband had cancer, and he was in his 40s, and they did everything that they could, and they prayed and they meditated and they did everything that they could possibly do to heal, and he died anyway. And there was a huge amount of anger at feeling betrayed. And when she went between lives, she was expressing this anger, and her guides were telling her, look at the lesson, look at what is ahead of you, and what you set up, and what this lesson is about. And the anger was not productive, but she was totally involved in the anger of feeling betrayed. We'd done everything we're supposed to, we'd followed the rules, and why did he still die? And human situations are like that. People die, disease happens. You know, that's one of the challenges of being in a physical body that can have disease. And it's part of the setup of a lifetime to deal with life and death.
One of the beautiful things we do in Love Between Life, that we set or brought the client to the spiritual healing. So the energy is rising in the client's aura. We could do the same, and I always ask, is it specifically for this case, or we could use similar techniques in our everyday life? And the answers are yes, please do. So just quietly send the energy, loving energy, without attachment to the outcome. You just do your side. And the person will take as much as they need to. And this is a little gifts from Life Between Life. We have a lot of gifts from every session. So this is the gift to do as the spirit world do, because we are spiritual beings and we take our energy more or less. We all have the spiritual energy. Why don't we use this energy in our limited way as a humans, but do the same loving things? Life will be much more easy for all of us.
Yes.
Totally agree, Rifa. That intention is so important, and that is energy we project towards others. Everyone is aware of Masaru Emoto, the Japanese scientist who studied the influence of word vibration to water. So the words filled with love and positive energy have different patterns, beautiful patterns, and then there are other words who are not resonating on that frequency. They have totally different designs. So the same happens. There's no time or space. There's no time or space. Everything happens now, and the energy is now, and our intention is now. So whenever we think a beautiful thought about someone or send love, they receive it for sure. Rita, you wanted to say something?
No, I just, when you were talking about the Japanese, once was in his lecture here in Stockholm, and I think his work is beautiful. He's in the spirit world now, but because I learned as an osteopath that we're water. I mean, we're all, when we come as a fetus, we're almost 90% water, and as grown-ups. So, and we know that prayers work. I think there's evidence, so sure, yes. There's a lot of evidence to read in case anyone wants to investigate the matter.
There is a lot written.
Yeah.
Well, we are slowly coming to an end of this video, and I would like just to do a short summary of what has been said today here. the purpose of life, yeah, it can be very simple. It can just be one thing, and it's beautiful. It can affect in positive ways so many people we are not even aware of. And the exit points, well, I leave it up to each soul to answer that question as each soul knows best. In the spirit world is what we can get, the answer we can get on that. And I would just encourage everyone to live life, to find that little sparkle of light inside and make it bigger. By making it bigger, spread it and give it to someone, because when we give, we get. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.